you're up.
Okay, good afternoon, almost morning. I'm Bill Kanda, Chairman of the Custer County Board of Health, and we will be adjourn this meeting, or convene this meeting on Wednesday, June the 19th, 2024 at 11, what is it?
11:30.
a.m. So with that, silence your phones or keep them silenced. And I call this meeting to order. So let's stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, roll call. I'll do it. We don't have our, by the rules, the public health director is normally he takes the attendance and does all that. So with that, I will acknowledge that the people present. So I am Bill Kanda, Chairman of the Board of Health. We've got Board of Health member Lucas F. and Board of Health member Kevin Day here today. You got a question, Luke?
Yeah, I thought Dorothy Kirsten did that.
No.
Was that not the case?
No.
Oh.
She's right now, she did it, she would have been here, we would have had her do it.
Okay.
But it's the sanitarian for the health department.
Oh, okay.
But we don't have the acting director,
Okay.
not here.
Okay. I got you.
And we got attorney
She wouldn't wind up.
Dan Slater here. Also, publicly, we've got our HR person here, Bob Smith. And we've got Gayla Day here and Ruth Barr, I mean that are present in the meeting today. All right, we'll, in order to expedite this too, we've done the introductions. The agenda, is there any amendments to this agenda, guys?
None from me.
Yes, sir.
All right, and we do not have any minutes and no reports. So I will immediately jump into the new business, and this is to acknowledge and consider the resignation of Dr. Brown, Director of Public Health, the Public Health Agency. So we did receive his resignation, and I would move that we accept it.
I'll second. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept Dr. Brown's resignation. Any comments?
Did you provide a copy of that by chance?
To you, I did not. It was handwritten, very short, just indicating that he was resigning his position as public health director effective.
He'll be effective with our.
The day he
Yes,
submitted.
with the date and time, and then of course with your acceptance along.
That's right. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Lucas?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. And the other thing that I really wanted to get to, that's why I wanted to convene this meeting today and discuss this, was the process of hiring a new director. And I asked Bob to put together the options and update the description so it would be current.
What you have,
And you passed those out to us already. So Bob, why don't you discuss that for us for a minute?
you have the current job description is the one that has the letterhead on it. I also provided you a copy of a past description that I was able to find.
Passed, say it again.
A past job description for that same position that I was able to find.
Which
Just as
is
an
the one that
example.
says,
Yeah, there's
State of
no
Colorado.
letterhead, it just says job description, Custer County Public Health Agency. Also passed around some documentation from the state as to job responsibilities and duties of that position from the state, and job requirements set forth by the state of minimum and progressively more preferable job requirements. So I passed those out to you. I really didn't want to put one together until we had some discussion with you as to if you had any preferences, specifically on requirements for the position, because they can go from a minimum of having someone who is a registered nurse with experience, all the way up to someone who has a master's degree in public health or related discipline. So there's a variety, you know, the state puts it as a non-physician director candidate and a physician director candidate. So there is some openness as to the job description can be created to include those two options, unless the board wants to just limit it to one or the other. I didn't want to speak for you or assume you wanted to go one direction or the other. That's up to you. So I thought it'd be good to have that discussion here. The state also puts forth recommendations as far as responsibilities. As I've looked at the current job description, the state the board at that time added some additional specific requirements like structuring the 9 health fair and things like that, which aren't contemplated at the state's requirement for the position. So
That is
I guess
not
that you would probably still want to do some of those things, but again, I didn't want to assume one way or the other of what your preferences would be. So for that, I would just open it up. Based on your discussion, I can create a job description that encompasses those things that you talk about, and then go about formulating that, bring it back to you next week as a formalized formal document based on your input, and then go out and start recruiting it. Your current interim director is Sarah Bartleston. She is the registered nurse and has those requirements of what they call non-physician certified. And here's if a candidate is a nurse, he or she shall have a license to practice in Colorado within 6 months of hire. Well, she already has those, so she's filling in that capacity until the position is filled.
Does she have a master's degree?
She does not have a master's.
So I don't think she does meet that
She doesn't
requirement.
mean
For the physician certified, but for the non-physician director
Says
candidate.
Not
master's.
how I read the regulation, under 1.23, a non-physician director candidate shall have a
That's
master's
right.
degree.
That's been the problem we had in the past.
Yeah, because I was reading it from this green and blue,
Yeah, well,
unless
I
I
think
may be
maybe-
applying it wrong.
I think you're applying it.
Yeah.
Okay, that could be, that could be.
Because that's gonna come from the Code of Colorado Regulations
Okay,
document you've also provided.
right,
I would say that it looks like we have to make an effort to recruit someone who meets these requirements.
yeah,
And then if we can't find someone, then we can, the board can approve a waiver
yes,
of these
Under
requirements.
certain.
But it sounds like we better.
Yeah, we went
try
through
to-
it in very excruciating detail, because we had to
Ain't
we had
that
to actually cancel where we were initially and redo it by
I
the
think
steps. when we did it.
Matthew that I spoke to talked about a waiver process,
Yes, but we've still got to go through the
process to get.
process of trying to get someone who doesn't require a waiver first before we can get the
Right.
waiver.
Which CRS are you referring to?
I'm looking at the one that's got the state seal on the top, Code of Colorado Regulations.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I'm reading, if you have one that is not a physician, if the public health director, that's number 1 under 1.2, second page. Bottom of that first paragraph, if the public health director is not a physician, the county or district board shall employ or contract with at least one medical officer to advise the public health director on medical decisions. Medical officer, is that a doctor, is that a nurse, or what is that?
MD or DO?
As I understand, you have one in that capacity now?
We do.
That's what I understand. I've never, I was just.
Dr. What is it, Smith? Is that his name?
So, there is that person, someone in that capacity is worth doing stuff for the county. Now,
That's correct.
So you're saying a non-physician director candidate shall meet A, B, C, and D, or A, or B, or C, or D?
Yeah, no, I think it's A and B and
It
C
is.
and D. Well, D is really, just says also, you also have to have a medical officer assisting or on call, basically.
So it's and A, and B, and C, and D.
Right.
master's degree in public health, years of experience on all those.
But that doesn't, if you went from A and C, those, I mean, that logically doesn't make sense to me.
Well, you could have a nurse who has a master's degree, for instance, a master's degree in nursing.
Okay.
In fact, nursing is mentioned as one of the disciplines where the master's degree could come from.
And that was a criteria that was, and we've actually hired him, we made a mistake probably doing it before my time to hire him with the expectation you would get that master's degree within 6 months or whatever. But the, so Bob, what do you recommend? You looked at our current one.
I would recommend is you let me go back this week, update the current one, match it against the requirements set by the state as to what the position does.
Yep.
And,
Right, yeah.
and then make sure that everything is in there. Take into account some of the things that are unique to Custer County, like the 9 health fair and stuff like that.
And that was, and that's a critical one, because
Right.
that was a big deal that when we didn't do it,
And bring all that back to you next week, and you convene into a public health meeting again. I give it to you.
that's right, we are going to.
And then you say yes or no. And then from that, I can go forth and recruit, posting it. I've been researching good places to put it other than Indeed and
That's
all
what we
that.
need.
So I have found a couple places that I think, like specific trade, unique, deal with specific, like health department, places where we might have better chances of finding someone. So I've begun that process already. I've identified 2.
Good.
I want to continue that process and then bring that recruitment and all that to you next week, similar to what I did with the finance director, and give you an outline structure for recruiting that. And then we can shortly thereafter, or on that day or next day, go out and start recruiting. That would be my recommendation.
It's a good idea. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, no, let's move forward with that.
Okay, that's my recommendation. I just didn't want to take the bull by the horns and start doing without giving you the opportunity to
No, that's great, and actually.
say something.
Just a quick cursory glance through the 2 job descriptions you provided us. I think they are very similar, if I'm not
They
mistaken.
probably are, but I think there is some differences, but I
Yeah, I hadn't.
delve into them until after
Okay.
our discussion.
I would say that after this last year, when we did finally get the 9 health fair back, they have since responded that they are no longer going to provide that, so that part could be taken out.
Okay,
Who's not going to respond?
9 health fair, I heard from our previous director that they were no longer going to
Oh.
be coming to Custer County.
That's right.
okay, so I don't need to include that.
No.
Me can be put in there as a
Um,
secondary responsibility if and when.
And state took it, I mean, they just decided not to do it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know
Anything
that
else
that would
are
be a-
unique that you as a board want to make sure?
You can
is
always
included?
add that later, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
If it comes
Other
around
duties
and
as
started
assigned.
again.
And I don't know that that would be something that would need to be on the job description, but that
Okay.
would just be a requirement, that would
That's
be
right.
Additional as decided by the Board of Health, I guess.
That's right.
That's always on there, right?
Right.
Yes. Anything specific other than what you may be reading that you would like to see included in that, a job description?
We can look at it. and see.
Yeah, if you see something, let me know. It doesn't have to be done now. If you don't want, you can get a hold of me.
I don't know if this is the proper time to bring this up, but I think I will. It's partially BOH and partially BOCC because it's a money issue. Our prior administration there increased. I understand that the nurses and a lot of the people there are wholly funded through grants. Our director received a county salary, which was inflated through the admin line on these grants. I can understand where the grant administrator or the one handling those grants could be compensated for that. I do not believe that our our director of public health, when they are hired for a position for a stated amount of money, I do not believe that they should be allowed to arbitrarily by themselves inflate their salary using grant dollars. And I'm gonna throw that out. That is my personal opinion as a Board of Health, as a BOCC member.
That's fine. This job description is county. This is what we pay, period. And so that's who or how we're gonna hire.
Yeah, but that's not what happened.
Structure, what I would, some input on like supervision in here. I don't know how to say it, I have to give some thought to it, but.
The supervision is not the Board of County Commissioners.
Right, and so
Yeah.
where
Gotta fix that.
you are the same, one and the same, other than flipping a switch, now I'm one and now I'm over here by a motion.
No, it's-
Convening one and intervening another.
right, we are a separate organization.
Right.
And that we are the Board of Health. And the supervision and the hiring, and you saw the regulations, is by the Board of Health. So that, we have to correct this in the job description.
Right, so I would, some of those nuances need to be addressed.
Yeah.
But I personally would like to see something to that effect. I don't know if that's I'm gonna say one of three. I would like to see something in that job description stating as such that the director's position should not be increased through
It's
grant
funded
funds.
by the,
Well, wait, hold on a second. I agree. That's something the Board
Sounds
of
like
Health
you don't
decides.
agree.
No, I don't agree. We put that in the job description. We're hiring the person for this amount of money, period. And if they want, and what we did in the past, when he came to us and said, here's what he's gonna do. And we let him do it as long as and he proved that it was necessary and it was the right thing to have. That was fine to do. We, as the Board of Health, can say, no, we're not gonna let you do that. And we have to do that, but we gotta have somebody that starts off exactly like we have here. This was the wages that we're paying.
His wages, as well as some others that were collecting county dollars, had their wages artificially inflated with grant dollars, and then any future cost of living increases were not to be put on those grant dollars, but it did happen. So their wages incrementally every year were increased dramatically more because those cost of living increases were added to grant-funded wages. I do not want to see that continue. I would like, it may not be the job description that it needs to go into, but I would like to see that somewhere in black and white so we have something to go to and say, this cannot happen.
Okay, we can have that discussion.
And that's a BOCC discussion, the financial part of it, because if we would have a BOH board that was separate from the three of us, that budget would come back to
That's
the
right.
BOCC.
That's
So as a-
that is
right?
exactly the process. If we do that in the Board of Health, we decide we think that's a smart thing to do, then as the commissioners, in a commissioners meeting, a separate meeting, after we've made a decision, is it right to do or not, then we would go to the Board of Commissioners and say, let's make this happen, whatever that process is.
That may be a discussion about a personnel policy.
Right,
Countywide that you might want to adopt as a county commissioner.
that's right.
Is that something you want to?
Because I'll tell you what I don't want to have happen, Kevin, is that if we constrain the Board of Health to a salary of whatever it is for whatever position it is, and you cannot get a professional and the county can't afford it, then it has to be funded, and that's what the state allows, and they have a provision in it for personnel people to be hired and be funded by those grants. And the reason they do that is because in little counties, you don't have enough money to support it, the common process and the capabilities that they expect to have public health agencies to have across the whole state. They want to standardize it and make sure that we have the right ability to give the right care to the people that need it. So that's the discussion the Board of Health has, and then based on that, then you worry about how do I fund the county portion that we acquire money for off the taxes of our citizens is fixed at whatever the rate that we can afford, because we have to provide other things. And if the grant can pick it up, fine. If the grant doesn't pick it up, then we don't provide that service in the health department.
Well, we used to have one nurse.
That's right, we used to have one nurse.
That particular system was abused in my opinion, because it was inflated using grant dollars and then supplemented with, when the cost of living increases went into effect, they were given on top of grant dollars, which when it happened in the first place was stated specifically that would not happen.
Okay, so it never did get to the finance office to be considered. When that may have been a fault of the process of the previous group that we had.
Well, and when applying for grants, right, so we'll have a new grant workflow process.
That's right.
And we'll have to decide whether these grants, is it worth it to go after this $20,000 grant when we've got $30,000 worth of benefits or $10,000 worth of benefits that we gotta pay for out of tax dollars.
Right.
And we don't have it to add to.
And we never had that.
15,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, of these, or whatever,
And
so it's a process problem that we have.
That's right.
And then the BOCC side of that would also be, I think he brought it up, the admin dollars that's included in some of these grants needs to go to finance department as well, because that's where a lot, and probably HR, that's where a lot of that work takes place, and not just in-house.
It's done through what's called allocation, cost allocation.
Okay, so,
Every county, certain county goes through a cost allocation process for a certain amount of this department's time spent over here and over here and over that.
Sure.
It's an internal accounting process where it's an allocation, internal funds. So
and I apologize, I know I took us to the BOCC's discussion here, but,
So I'll grab a hold of it, Kevin.
why don't you take this conversation back, sir?
I have a question. We talked about the need for the Board of Health to do a waiver where we are in an interim place where your interim director, Sarah, even though a certified nurse doesn't have the master's that the state requires, I'm gonna have to reach out to Matthew with the state, who I've talked to, and ask him, do you need the Board of Health to request a waiver where she's acting in an interim capacity?
Yes, I think we do, and I did talk to her about that, or not to her, but we need to get a hold of them, because I think we do.
Okay, So I'll reach out to
temporarily, I don't know how long it's gonna take to do it, and that waiver could last through when we hire.
I'll reach out to Matthew.
Yeah, find
He and
out.
I've had some discussions already. He was gonna be sending me some paperwork, so I will make sure that that is in process for this interim.
Yeah, and then we can just consider that at the next Board of Health meeting.
Mhm.
I would say the way I read this is the waiver is not actually approved by the state, it's approved by the county board.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Then it,
I'll ask
So
them
we
to
just
pay
need to find out whether the county board of health needs to approve a waiver for an interim.
that would be acceptable.
Okay.
from a
We just
standard.
submit it to them for review is what it says, it
Okay.
doesn't say that they approve or disapprove the waiver.
Okay.
We approve the waiver and then submit it to them, and let them know we've approved the waiver.
Right.
I'll get that done for you.
If I may.
Maybe.
Thank you. It has been brought to my attention as well that there is one other member of public health who did just graduate and receive, I apologize, I don't know that it is a master's, but did receive a diploma in the field of public health, and that would be Lee.
Yeah, Lee did.
Okay, I
So,
can reach out to him. See if he wants to.
if-
consider.
if that becomes a need, I'm not suggesting we make a change. I'm just saying that that was brought to my attention.
Okay, I'll follow up on it.
And I don't know if it's a master's.
I don't think it was, he was talking to me about.
I'll reach out to him.
Yeah, but it's more capability, it's more qualifications that matter. All right, anything else?
Not for me.
Nothing here.
No, sir.
All right, well, given that, we did it, and I think we're good to go. Any
Eleven
public comments?
57.
All right,
I guess there is a spot for public comment on your
yeah,
agenda.
there is. And I don't, do you see any out there? Any comments in here? All right, given that, I will adjourn this meeting at, what is it, I can't see.
11:57 on my computer.
11:57 on my computer.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
You're welcome.